just brokered an agreement. China just brokered an agreement between rival Palestinian factions in order to end their divisions and promote Palestinian unity. China, once again, proving that they are a positive force for peace on the world stage. While genocide Joe Biden in the United States bomb and mass slaughter Palestinians, we have China that are bringing them together. China has the reputation of not only being a massive superpower, but also the world's mediator. Remember, it was just a year ago that China brokered a historic peace deal between Iran and Saudi Arabia. In doing so, China flexed their influence and showed how irrelevant the United States is starting to become. China also wrote the highly praised Chinese peace proposal for the conflict in Ukraine that was endorsed by the biggest countries in the world like India, Brazil, even Russia itself. A massive blow to the West and NATO. You even had the Ukrainian Foreign Ministry that praised China for their active role in bringing peace to Ukraine. Just exposed the desperation from NATO, who tried to smear China as being the main driver of conflict in Europe. China is the world's mediator, while the United States is the world's police. China is absolutely outclassing the United States in diplomacy on the world stage. And that's exactly why United States politicians want you to hate them. Isn't it interesting how ISIS, the quote-unquote radical Islamist terrorist organization, never attacked Israel? In fact, isn't it interesting how ISIS spends their time attacking the enemies of Israel in the United States? As we have Israel live streaming a mass slaughter of Muslims in Gaza, you have ISIS that was attacking and killing Palestinian resistance fighters. In 2018, ISIS declared war on Hamas. How very convenient for Israel. As the IDF was live streaming their barbaric war crimes against Muslims in Gaza, you had ISIS that decided to attack Russia instead of Israel. How very convenient for the United States. For an organization that chants death to America, they tend to do America a lot of favors, don't they? We return the favor as well. Remember, Donald Trump killed General Soleimani of Iran when he was fighting ISIS. Wait. I thought Donald Trump said that he took out ISIS. Isn't it interesting how politicians keep saying they defeated ISIS? ISIS disappears until we need them to conveniently resurface and attack the enemies of the United States. 2 out of 3 of our last presidents openly admitted that we funded and trained ISIS.
So with the additional steps I ordered last month, we're speeding up training of ISIL forces, including volunteers from Sunni tribes in Anbar province.
ISIS is honoring President Obama. He is the founder of ISIS. He's the founder of ISIS, okay? He's the founder. He founded ISIS. And I would say the co-founder would be crooked Hillary Clinton.
There have been members of the Mossad that have been exposed as ISIS commanders. ISIS is Israel, and just like Israel, ISIS is an extension of United States foreign policy. What's poppin', my friends, my family? We are back again. Welcome to Nick at Night. Nick at any time. We had Nick in the morning the other week, Nick at noon, Nick at night. It doesn't matter. What's poppin'? What's poppin', my friends? We had a leader of ISIS speak at Congress just now. We had the modern age Hitler. No exaggeration. The guy who has concentration camps where Palestinians are being forcibly raped to death. And we have our Congress, which is a group of traitors. I never even use this language, but that's the only way you can describe the Zionist make Israel great again sellouts. These Zionist traitors sold out the American people. We have a criminal giving an address at Congress as our ruling class implements harsh law and order and harsh authoritarian criminal justice policies on our people. As they do that, as they call my community thugs, as they want to call other communities violent and full of criminals and accuse other people of being lawless, we are a lawless country for the capitalist class. We are a lawless country for these warmongers. We have a man who's been prosecuted for genocide by the International Court of Justice, getting these ovations. This is what treason looks like, my friends. This is treason. They would call me, who's a Marxist revolutionary, a lot of these white Americans who have their brain fucking broken, who think I'm the enemy because I want the betterment of the working class. Here is an institution that has 13% American approval rating, who don't believe your ass deserve health care, who sends your taxpayer money to a country that provides health care to their people, higher education for their people. So these traitors believe that Israel should get American subsidized health care, but you shouldn't. They put cop cities on our corner to criminalize our streets, while this criminal who is wanted in the International Criminal Court is worshipped as a hero. This is treason of the absolute highest order, and I am looking at American side-eyed. Big props to our generation, the leftists, the Marxists, the people who truly anti-war, MAGA fraud. Tucker Carlson, he said he loves Israel. You have Matt Taibbi, who's afraid to talk about Israel because he'll hurt his bottom line. That's what he said on Savvy. I am side-eyeing white America, who allowed these Zionist traitors to hijack our country. A criminal giving a speech to Congress, as they said, we are a country that respects law and order. As Democrats are trying to convince us that Donald Trump is the worst thing ever because he's a convicted felon because of political witch hunts. The people say, oh, we respect the rule of law, we respect the court. Trump and MAGA is evil because MAGA don't respect the institutions. MAGA don't respect the courts. That's what liberals are saying. Liberals are going after their enemies, politically prosecuting their enemies, and saying that they don't respect the court because they're not going along. Meanwhile, you have the International Criminal Court as acknowledged and recognized by NATO, the United States, and you have the United States that's threatening the International Criminal Court, ICJ, whenever they go after the West. You have these courts that liberals, all of a sudden, these institutionalists, they hate the International Criminal Court. This is a criminal thug. You guys like to call my people thug. This is a thug. You guys think there's anyone in the hood that is more gangster than this guy? This man in the suit? These Zionist bloodthirsty demons? Look at this. This is America's humiliation ritual. This is the humiliation ritual of America. There's never been a relationship between two countries like this before. I challenge anyone in history to find a parallel relationship like the relationship between the United States and Israel, where you have the Zionist entity that completely bought off the United States and America and their politicians. A lot of them are ideologically driven. A lot of them have been bought and sold by Israel. AIPAC has completely taken over our democracy. They are advocating mass censorship of Americans for pushing back against Israel's genocidal war. That is what Benjamin Netanyahu said during this speech. You have John Fetterman, who he doesn't wear a suit for the American people. He doesn't even attempt to show up in a suit for the American people. I guess we're not worth his time for that. But when it comes to Israel and their boss, his boss is in town. The person who got him elected. This is the person that progressives, that the vanguard, that breaking points, that TYT and Kyle Kulinski shield for? This guy that showed up in a suit for Netanyahu, someone who fight for Israelis more than he fight for Americans. And it was so embarrassing. This is America's humiliation ritual because white Americans that go along with this, which is the main driver, white Christian American Zionists, are the #1 drivers of this cuck behavior. There is no bigger cuck nation than the United States after what Israel's done to it. It's so bad that Benjamin Netanyahu literally had to stop them, ask them to stop applauding him. Because every 3 to 4 seconds, every time he says you had unhinged applause. They was honoring a group of war criminals. This man couldn't speak a sentence without these genocidal maniacs on both sides of the aisle that was applauding this psychopath. Because you have Democrats now that realizing how horrible this is. This is going to be a historic moment, my friends. When you see those old clips of Nazi rallies and history don't look kindly at that, historians don't look kindly at this kind of shit. This is what Americans and this generation of Americans will forever be remembered for. This is what this generation of Americans will forever be remembered for, being a cuck of Israel, throwing away their sovereignty, their free speech rights for a genocidal apartheid regime. And the cuck subservient behavior that was on display was so bad. Even Netanyahu was, all right, guys, turn it down a little bit.
Leveled at the Jewish state. No, don't applaud. Listen. Leveled at the Jewish state. No, don't applaud.
Guys, it was that bad. It was that bad to the point where Netanyahu had to tell him to stop applauding. And this is America's humiliation ritual because you had the entirety of America that see their ruling class bowing to this man, humiliating our people, promoting weakness. This is meant to humiliate you, to show that you have no control over our government, which we do not. AIPAC openly brags about they win 90 out of 90 elections of all their candidates always win their elections. Meanwhile, white Americans are 100% okay with this. Meanwhile, white Americans want to sick the police force on us. We have a criminal giving a speech in Congress, someone who can't travel the global majority. He can't go to the country of the global majority because his ass will get arrested. This same country that implements harsh authoritarian on our people is okay with a criminal. You see how white America works? You guys see how our ruling class works? It's harsh, authoritarian, fascist law and order for the workers, for black and brown people. But then for the ruling class, for the capitalist class, it's relaxed, laissez-faire economics. Relaxed, laissez-faire interpretation of law and order. All of a sudden, these motherfuckers are libertarians. All of a sudden, these motherfuckers are abolitionists when it comes to holding the ruling class accountable, which is why they look at China with horror when trying to prosecute their billionaires. You had majority of the duopoly, the majority of white Americans that was calling anti-genocide protesters Hamas sympathizers. Benjamin Netanyahu was invited to Congress to smear Americans. And he insults Americans as youthful idiots of Hamas, youthful idiots of Iran, smearing Americans, and then our politicians cheer him as he insults Americans. And why do politicians do this? I think people in the comments with their feelings hurt already. Why do they do this? Why do you gotta do this? Because this is what white Americans vote for. When are you guys gonna hold your community accountable for this Zionist nonsense? Facts over your feelings. There's a reason why this is the safe route. There's a reason why AIPAC brags about 90 out of 90 election, because the white suburbanites that's teaming up with the Zionists in order to rob the free speech rights and overall rights of Americans. You have the police force that is beating peace-loving Jewish people. And Carl Zah, I see you in the background. I'm going to introduce you here very soon. You have Here are peace-loving Jewish people. This is why you can't conflate Zionism with Judaism. And you have the police state that is not arresting Benjamin Netanyahu, they're arresting the Jewish people. This from Hotspot, Jews in the United States getting arrested on behalf of Israel's Netanyahu, not the war criminal. And then I said defund the police because I clearly see the NYPD working with the IDF, and white Americans like, no, don't defund the police. You mean the thugs who work for the Zionists? That's who you want to give power to? And you guys want to have your feelings hurt. Get the fuck out of here. Until you address your community and address this scourge of Zionist infiltration of this country, I'm not holding back. You're afraid to have conversations with your Zionist uncle. You're afraid to have the uncomfortable conversations about genocide. And we supposed to be okay with this humiliation ritual that we just went through? You have massive protests. You have Benjamin Netanyahu that's holding a war rally. This is political. On our paradigm. As he smear Americans as useful idiots of a month. Let me find this clip. I need to get my guests in here. I want to at least play this one here. Fuck, man. There's so much to cover. How do people do 1 hour shows, man? It's so much to cover. All right, this is my third show this weekend. I'm already fucking falling behind. But here's I'm gonna play this.
Officially become Iran's useful idiots.
Here, I started again. Here, you guys see he calls Americans using the engaging in their free speech rights, engaging in civil action against genocide that our taxpayer money paid for. Here he is insulting. He is at our Congress. At our Congress. They work for us, not the other way around, you bootlickers. This is our Congress. And he's smearing Americans who don't support the apartheid state. This should be a massive shift. And if you're not calling out your Zionist family members, I hope your feelings are hurt for what I'm saying tonight. Because we've been crossed the red line. We've been crossed the red line on this. Here's Spill in America. I'm gonna get my guess in here.
Officially become Iran's useful idiots.
So he smear Americans as useful idiots, and he get a standing applause for the people who's supposed to work for us. These are, how many times have you seen me use this word? These are traitors of the highest order. If I have power, which I do not, I am not bullshitting with you guys. If I have power and I can make shit happen, I will lock these motherfuckers up with treason. I am not bullshitting. If I had a genie in a lamp, if I had to rub that motherfucker, give me 3 wishes, lock all these motherfuckers up for treason. So let me introduce my guest, man. I'm fired up, man. This is insane. This is a amazing geopolitical commentator, amazing journalist, educator, does great work exposing the ruling class propaganda, especially regarding the anti-China rhetoric, which you guys know I've been obsessed with debunking. So I appreciate you making time and joining us on RBN tonight, Carl Zah.
Hi, Nick. How are you?
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us. I want to get your initial impressions because I have a few more things I want to cover here. There's never been a relationship like the relationship between the United States and Israel that I know of in history. And knowing what you know, because you studied, and I love the work that you do, especially documenting Chinese history as well. So as a historian, as someone who followed geopolitical world events, what's your initial take on what I see as insanity of Netanyahu essentially giving a war rally at U.S. Congress? Do you have any initial reactions?
Well, I think this is we're at the last stage of the empire right now. You know, people are these ruling elites are scrambling. I mean, Netanyahu himself, he's just fighting to stay in power. One of the primary reason for him to wage this war and to escalate up the escalation ladder is because he know in a peacetime he will be prosecuted for corruption. He will be locked up. Now he's playing the wartime president I mean, which is fine if he does it in Israel. The fact, I mean, I love your rant, by the way. He is calling Americans useful idiots for Iran, and all these idiots in Congress just got up and cheer and applaud him. What the fuck is wrong with you? I mean, like, these people, we know they don't represent us. They're all billionaires, millionaires, trying to line their own pocket. But do you really need to embarrass yourself like that? I mean, they are, of course, they're putting on a performance. They probably don't give a shit, whatever happened to Israel or Palestine. They're putting on a performance for their donors, for their financial backers, so they can stay in their position, continue to line their own pocket, and continue to work the grift. But this is really obscene. I mean, this is this is like they're raising a giant middle finger to all of us. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, that's why I can't think of any other way to describe it other than humiliation ritual. Our ruling class, and remember, this is not China where people are enthusiastic about their government, a government that has a high approval rating. We're gonna get to China later. I appreciate your flexibility because I had to completely scrap my original show after I saw this Netanyahu speech at Congress, and you guys can tell, preparing this show and just watching this, you guys see my legitimate reaction. Like, this is not a scripted show. I'm not one of the people that do emotionless content. I apologize. But this shit should infuriate every American to the level I'm at right now. Every single American. This wasn't planned. We still gonna get to some China discussion as well. But I could, like, anyone who has a platform, anyone who's going live tonight, this should be the anger directed at our ruling class for this. And before I get you back in here, I want you to react to this one as well. You have Netanyahu that's smearing, once again, Americans that are engaged in free speech, something Israel wouldn't know anything about, demonstrating protests, and he accuses us of being funded by Iran. So let's watch this clip. Once again, just Netanyahu, a genocidal criminal, going to our Congress to smear Americans.
They refuse to make the simple distinction between those who target terrorists and those who target civilians, between the democratic state of Israel and the terrorist thugs of Hamas. We recently learned from the National Security Director, U.S. Director of National Intelligence, that Iran is funding and promoting anti-Israel protests in America. They want to disrupt America.
We all know where that came from, right? That came from Israel. Anyone who actually believes that is an idiot of the highest level, but let's continue.
So these protesters burn American flags even on the 4th of July. And I wish to salute the fraternity brothers at the University of North Carolina who protected the American flag against these anti-Israel protesters.
No need to witness that cult applause he's gonna get. And what's the funniest thing about this is that he accused people who are advocating for peace of being useful idiots of Iran, being funded by Iran. The reason why the Congress support genocide is because they're funded by Israel. So isn't that the greatest irony? It's always projection. Do you have anything you want to add, Carl, before I continue?
And he's calling the protester who is organized by Jewish Voice for Peace. He's basically calling them bad Jews. I mean, he's accusing them of being anti-Semitism. We are living a full bizarro world right now. But in fact, what his policy, his state policy, the Zionism right now is the biggest factor driving behind anti-Semitism, because they try to tie Zionism with being Jewish. And when they're being challenged and called out on that, they just lash out and call everybody else anti-Semitic. Right now, the fact that he's saying you have, if you're a Jew, you have to support Zionism, it itself is anti-Semitic. I mean, the fact but what more obscene is, why is he giving this platform while he's committing genocide in Middle East, in Gaza? They just blow up another university in Gaza right now. What remain of it? While he is in Congress giving this speech, they timed it perfectly because they knew whatever they do, even if their war atrocity is shown all across the world, even if they themselves continue to tweet out their own war crimes, they are still got the backs of the U.S. war machine. And they're essentially raising a middle finger, not just to American, but all of the world. You know what? There's nothing you can do about it. We will commit genocide. We will commit ethnic cleansing, and we can get away with it because these idiot U.S. congressmen are in our pay. They will do what we say.
Exactly. And what you said about Zionism being a driver of anti-Semitism is 100% true. It's the number one driver of anti-Semitism is a toxic ideology that actually makes Jewish people less safe, and it infringes on their rights. The people who are against the Zionist entity the most are the Orthodox, extremely religious Jewish people. And they are victims of the IDF, victim of the Israeli police state. They're now being victimized by the American police state because they are Jews that have the audacity of questioning the Zionist regime. These Jewish people are also victims of financial retaliation. They are branded self-hating Jews, Hamas sympathizers, excommunicated from their communities, and much more. So they face financial retaliation. Their freedom of speech is repressed. And this is the end result of Zionism. And what's are they safer because of this? No, like you said, unfortunately, there may be people who connect the actions of the Zionist entity with Jewish people. So they're not only do they take the rights of Jewish people, they end up making Jewish people more unsafe, not only worldwide, but obviously in Israel.
Remember when Joe Biden says Israel is the only nation that provided a safe space for the Jews, where the Jews can feel safe. And he's speaking as the president of the United States. And what he's saying is he cannot provide safety for Jewish Americans in the United States, that you need Israel to provide safe space for the Jews. This is just mind-boggling. And right now they're cheering Netanyahu every minute of his speech. This is really obscene. They also know they don't have to do this, but they are doing it anyway because they're just basically demonstrating loyalty to their political donors. Like, hey, I went along with the program. I'm a very dutiful follower of what I'm paid to do. So continue to fund me. That's what they're advertising. They don't really care about the optics. The optic, I think deep in the heart, they know the optics is bad, but they don't really care about the optics because they think there's nothing we can do.
They clearly don't care about the optics, because just another example of why Zionism is extremely anti-Semitic, just the optics of it is crazy. You had Joe Biden and his administration that smeared the peace protesters as Hamas sympathizers. They attacked them for being violent, and they stick the police state on them. So let's just take it at face value. And I generally don't use a religious argument often regarding the Israel occupation, but think about what just happened at face value. You had a Catholic who is criticizing peace-loving Jewish people because they don't support the Catholics sending bombs to the fascist Jewish state that is bombing Christians and Muslims in the Middle East. If you don't support the Catholic doing that, you're an anti-Semite.
Well, Biden said, I'm a Zionist. He said, you don't have to be a Jew to be Zionist. And he's right. He's a freaking Zionist. So are our congressmen in Congress right now. At least a majority of them. And these people all need to go. I mean, I'm flabbergasted when majority of Americans already know their Congress persons do not work for them. Yet these people continue to get elected years after years after year. I mean, you have people like Feinstein, stay in office until her death, and then you have people like Pelosi going the same route. You have like warmongers like Lindsey Graham, that's still there. It's like after all these years, and these people, they have their mentality still stuck in the 20th century. They're still that's where their prime back in 1980 when Biden's mental faculty hasn't gone away, and they think the world is still exists in that in that environment. I mean, these people all need to go. I mean, there's no reason for these relics to continue to make policies that's putting Israel's interest first.
Yeah, and Netanyahu writes our foreign policy. All our foreign policy is based on the bidding of Israel. I'm gonna show you guys how Netanyahu lobbied hard to Congress for us to go to war with Iraq, and what we did. What do? We went to war with Iraq. So, and now here is Netanyahu lobbying for us to go with Iran because Thomas Massey, a Republican anti-Israel congressperson, one of the few, he hated by AIPAC. I think Israel killed his wife, but who knows? I had no evidence for that. But he didn't attend this event because he explained how this is a pro-war rally. And it was. This essentially was a rally in order to, for one, to shore up his support in Israel because he politically died in Israel, but also to advocate for war with Iran. So big shout out to my friends at Hotspot that helped me put these clips together. Here's one of the pitches, because there was quite a lot of unhinged statements that he said on Iran. And this is the end game for Israel, for us to send your sons and daughters to fight for Israelis for Israeli wars. Let's listen to this.
I don't hear the audio.
Thank you for letting me know. Let me it's a glitch. Thank you for the heads up. Let me fix it here real quick. Here we go. Let me know if it's working now. I think it should. It was just a glitch.
For Iran, Israel is first, America is next. So when Israel fights Hamas, we're fighting Iran. When we fight Hezbollah, we're fighting Iran. When we fight the Houthis, we're fighting Iran. And when we fight Iran, we're fighting the most radical and murderous enemy of the United States of America. And one more thing. When Israel acts to prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons that could destroy Israel and threaten every American city, every city that you come from, we're not only protecting ourselves, we're protecting you.
I think this is 30 seconds. Well, you got some. Here we go.
My friends, if you remember one thing from the speech, remember this. Our enemies are your enemies. Our fight is your fight. And our victory will be your victory.
Sean Branson war with Iran, and he says we got to take out Iran to make us safe. But the reason why there's so much anti-America hatred is because of our support of the Zionist entity. Their existence alone makes us unstable. Carl, feel free. I want you to respond. Anything you want to add? There's so much lies he said there, but I want to give you a chance to tee it up first.
But we have to remember, Netanyahu grew up American. He went to school in America. Yeah. He had to give up his American citizenship to go back to Israel and become a politician. And the America war machine, the American Empire Project, and Israel, they're joined at the hip. I mean, the whole settler colonial project in Israel is possible because of American support. We are giving them billions of dollars in aid every year so they can continue to function. And the Israeli committing genocide in Gaza wouldn't have been possible without the American support. You know, Israel does not have the military industrial capacity to produce all the weapons and munitions that could last them in a long operation. You know, if America is not airlifting, sending them ammunitions and weapons, they will run out in a month. They can continue to stay in Gaza, to continue to commit suicide, is because of the American support. Now, back to the Iran thing. What has Iran done to average Americans in the last 30 years? Why is Iran America's enemy? He's speaking to these people who still remember whose perception of Iran is still stuck in like 1979, when the
Yeah.
Iranian Revolution happened, when the Iranian hostage crisis happened. But that was a whole generations ago, 30 years ago. And besides, the people that held hostage in American embassy, they're CIA operatives anyway. But that event kind of shaped American perception of Iran for the next 40 years. But what has Iran done to the United States in the last 30 years, in the last 35 years? It's U.S. continually meddling in the Middle East, continually to bomb people in the Middle East, and now it's continually supporting Israel committing genocide. U.S. empire is a problem, but of course we all know U.S. empire don't represent our interests. It doesn't represent interests of average working class Americans. It works to continually funnel money into those people sitting in the Congress, giving standing ovation to Netanyahu right now. It's funding the lobbyists for the military-industrial complex, all the think tankers, and all their hanger-ons, and all these politicians who carry out their policies. Netanyahu, in a way, he is speaking to his people. He is speaking to the cabal of people who are in cahoots to impose a U.S. hegemony around the world, but in particular Middle East. I mean, Israel, like Biden himself said back in 1980s when he is still coherent, he said, if there's no state of Israel, then we have to create a state of Israel. This is the best $3 billion investment we could ever make. We need a state of Israel to further U.S. interests in the Middle East. He said that. I mean, everybody knew Israel is a bridgehead for the U.S. imperialism in Middle East. It's just sometimes, they kind of, it became a tail wagging the dog problem. They sometimes the Israeli leadership have their own priorities, like Netanyahu right now, because he wanted to have this war. He wanted to commit atrocity in Gaza to take the attention away from his own corruption. He himself was facing corruption charges before October 7th, and now he sees this a perfect opportunity to play the wartime leader of Israel, and his goal is to get United States even more deeply involved. He want to drag United States deeper into this conflict, because U.S. empire is a multi-headed beast. It has a lot of priorities, trying to balance a lot of interests. Yeah. It's waging a proxy war in Ukraine against Russia, which is not going well after 2 years. It's also trying to start another conflict in Asia to contain China. And many people in Washington have voiced the concern, maybe United States need to pivot. In order to pivot to Asia, they need to pivot away from the Middle East and maybe even Ukraine. But no, Netanyahu is not having that. No. I am the center stage here. The spotlight is all on me. So you have to go along with me willy-nilly. You have to commit yourself 100% to my settler colonial project in the Middle East. That's what he's trying to do, and that's why he's playing the bogeyman of Iran from 1979. He's always done that. It's like, we are fighting the war for you. No. You're fighting the war for yourself. You're fighting the war to stay out of jail. But the rhetoric, he's essentially gaslighting Americans, right? It's like, I'm doing this for you. You should be grateful for me. When he himself depends largely on U.S. military aid to function as a state, to function, his whole settler colonial project would collapse if the American aids were cut off today. And he is going to Congress hat in hand to ask for more funding, to get more U.S. aid and on top of the political support. And yet he's behaving like he's the savior of United States. You all gotta be grateful to me for helping you out when I'm here asking for more money. And that's what. And I don't know if people saw that Washington Post article about Netanyahu will purposely bring in dirty laundry to United States to have the
Yeah, I
U.S.
saw that.
staff clean it for him.
I
I'm
saw
like,
that.
this got to be some kind of trip for him. You know, he's literally demonstrating his dominance. Like, you know, I literally have United States wash my dirty laundry for me, not just metaphorically, literally washing my dirty laundry for me.
Yeah, there are so many great things said there, as always. And your breakdown on how Israel shapes United States foreign policy gets us involved in these conflicts. It's the reason why we got involved in Iran. Is why I had no tolerance for people who have weakness on Zionism. That's why I had no love for RFK Jr. and a lot of these people on the right who get Ukraine correct, because their criticism of Ukraine is that it's not in the United States interest to be in Ukraine. We should send that money to Israel instead. We should go to war with China instead. And RFK Jr. himself said Israel is very important because it's like an aircraft carrier for the United States in the Middle East. So for all the people that were saying regarding RFK Jr., oh man, it's just one issue. I'm like, no, that's everything. That's the entire. That's a giant piece of the chessboard that you're giving up. If he's weak on Israel, he's gonna be weak on Syria. He's gonna be weak on their ambitions in Iran. But do you want anyone add, Carl, before we continue?
RFK, his one issue, his one platform is anti-war. He said, "I am gonna end the endless war." How are you going to end the endless war if you commit yourself to support Israel? The war is never going to end. You're going to drag yourself deeper into Middle East. I mean, some say RFK has been compromised because his close association with Epstein. I don't know, but he's making again. I think he's signaling. He's just like those Congress people who are giving standing ovation in Netanyahu. He is signaling to his potential donors, like, you know what? I'm not going to upset the apple cart. I know my platform is to end the war, but really that's just to get the vote. But I'm just like the rest of them. I will do my part, you know, to continue U.S. engagement with Israel. I think that's what he's doing. But in doing so, he's destroying any chance he has at the election. I mean, that was being anti-war. That's one thing that distinguished RFK from the rest of the candidates. That's one thing a lot of people thought, oh, maybe he's a viable alternative. He turned out not to be. He turned out to be no different. This is why, you know, he totally destroyed his own electoral prospect by doing that.
Yeah, and doesn't that show how powerful the Zionist entity is? The RFK Jr. arguably could be fucking president if he got his issue right. And he was like, nah, it's not worth it. I could be fucking president if I get this issue right, but I'm still not gonna get it right. I'm still gonna continue to get it wrong. And I'm gonna play this here. I'm gonna show these next few clips for a second time. This is another clip of him advocating for war with Iran. And this is what I'm focused on, because you guys know I do geopolitical analysis. That's my focus. But there was a ton of lies. I don't have time to show this. It's very painful. I didn't watch the whole thing. I couldn't. But a lot of it was him repeating long since debunked propaganda. He repeated the mass rape hoax in October 7th. He spread the lie of mass rapes that Hamas implemented against hostages. Like, every lie that has been debunked, that our channel debunked, that I'm sure Carl and all our allies debunked, he essentially went on floor and lied. So there's no reason for me to show you guys all the lies. You guys can check it out. Just know Benjamin Netanyahu lied about literally everything. He said, one lie I don't have clip, but he said that there was essentially no civilian deaths in Rafah. And bro, when he said that, he didn't flinch, bro. The worst liar, like Donald Trump, think of the worst liar you can think of. No one can lie better than this guy. He said that there was no civilian deaths in Rafah. So that's a big part of the speech. We don't have to dread on that. We know he's a liar. So then the last part I want to show you guys how he's advocating, another part of him advocating for us going to war with Iran. Then I'm going to show you guys how he got us into war with Iraq. He's been the instrument of U.S. foreign policy. He got so many United States soldiers killed. He's responsible for so much death and destruction. So let's play this, and I'm going to show you guys the old clip. Hold on, let me unmute it.
Upheaval. Our world is in upheaval. In the Middle East, Iran's axis of terror confronts America, Israel, and our Arab friends. This is not a clash of civilizations. It's a clash between barbarism and civilization.
Bro, you guys are literally raping people to death with dogs. You got the IDF in Israel, they are raping people to death with dogs. So I am supportive of Palestinian liberation unapologetically. By any means, right? But you guys understand that the worst caricature of Hamas, think of the worst interpretation. Think of what the average redneck probably thinks about these Islamic terrorists. You guys realize that the worst interpretation of Hamas is not as bad as Israel is, right? You guys understand they don't even accuse of Hamas of murdering entire family members of Israelis. You guys know Israel and the IDF, they wait for people who they view to be enemies to go home so they can kill their entire family. The worst interpretation of Hamas is not Hamas slaughters entire families. So the worst you have on Hamas doesn't come close to Israel. Anyway, let me continue. Sorry, I need to stop ranting. Let me continue. Let's continue.
It's a clash between those who glorify death and those who sanctify life.
Clap. You guys see what I'm talking about? Every sentence he's fucking clap to the point where he had to, hey guys, stop fucking clapping, guys. Anyway, let's continue.
For the forces of civilization to triumph, America and Israel must stand together.
Clap. This Black Club will play on this segment. I'm have a few more things to show you guys. This is Benjamin Netanyahu. This is not the first time he advocated for war. I could find so many of these. There's multiple of these clips, but this is him pushing and advocating for us to go to war with Iraq in 2002.
If you take out Saddam's regime, I guarantee you that it will have enormous positive reverberations on the region.
How's that going, fam? Carl, do you want to chime in before I continue? Any thoughts you have before I move on?
No. There's too much because I would just keep ranting and go off on tangent.
Yeah.
This is just let Netanyahu speak. I mean, the longer he speaks, the deeper hole he's digging in. A lot of the thing he says is 100% projection. Everything like you said, everything the accused of Palestinian or Hamas are doing, IDF Israelis are doing themselves, and they openly put it on social media. Yeah. Every day they tweet out their own war crime, they're damn proud of it. I mean, you can fool some people some of the time. You can never fool all people all the time. And right now, outside of the echo chamber of Congress, I think it's pretty clear to vast majority of the people around the world what Israeli is doing. I mean, it's committing a horrendous genocide, ethnic cleansing. They think they can get away with it because, in Netanyahu's own words, there was a leaked tape of Netanyahu back in 2000, and he's saying, "Oh, the Americans are easily manipulated. We can make them go along with whatever we're doing." And this is what he thinks of Americans. He thinks Americans are suckers, and this may. The fact is, he's not wrong. All these Congress people everyone in the Congress, they're either ignorant or they know but they don't care. They're willing to go along with Israel's project because that's what their political donor wants them to do. They want them to continually support Israel, so that's what they will do.
Yeah, guys, and that's why I went so hard in this stream. I saw a few people like, "Come on, no. I'm not a liberal, guys. I'm a Marxist. I believe in personal responsibility a lot, and I think we have a responsibility where we shouldn't have never allowed to get this bad. Like this, and I think people and this is what Matt Taibbi said. Like, I don't want to shrink my social circle by calling out. No. This red line has been crossed a long time ago. Now, especially at this humiliation ritual, Like there should be no tolerance for this. I cut out people in my life for less. If I had someone I was close to and they had an Israeli flag on their line, I would never talk to that motherfucker again. I'm dead serious. This is the red line. If this is not the red line, do you have values? What do you stand for if this is not the red line? And you got Netanyahu and these Jewish supremacists in Israel that brags U.S. is easy to manipulate. But Carl, feel free to chime in.
And you know, right now the Democratic establishment is already pushing the line that you got to vote for us because you know you have no choice. And despite our policies, despite our horrible policy of continually stand behind Israel in their ongoing genocide, you have to vote for our candidate because you have no other choice. Well, this is the same argument that get them to continually stay in power and continually doing all the same imperialist policies that's caused wreaking havoc all around the world. But they say, well, if you don't vote for us, the Republican is going to win. You know, they're even worse. Well, who says that you guys have to be the only two choices? You know, this is how they try to get you away from voting a third-party candidate. You know, but because their argument is, oh, the third party is never going to win, so your choice, you're stuck with us. You can't vote for Trump. But the thing is, if we don't start doing something different, we're all going to get the same results every freaking time. You know, the definition of insanity is to expect something different while you do the same thing over and over again. Right now, the Democratic Party establishment is playing us for suckers. They're expecting we will support them unconditionally, even if they, you know, under their watch, a current ongoing genocide is going on, and they're fully in support of that. Sorry, I mean, I just thought if your argument is that third party is never viable, but see, that's a self-perpetuating argument. You know, if you think away, then yeah, you're right. Then third party candidate are never viable. You have to start somewhere. But anyway, myself, I don't even believe in this politics anymore because the U.S. is horribly corrupt. But if we want to work with what we have to start doing something different, something from what we have always done, which, you know, is what Democratic Party establishment want us to do, is to get their back no matter how corrupt they are, how shitty their policies are, because they say, oh, the alternative is worse. It's like, no, pox on both of your houses, man.
So well said. So well said. I think the most important thing that Americans have to do right now is form an anti-genocide coalition. We need to build our own organizations. I said this during my speech with Dr. Stein and Workers Strike Back this last weekend. We need to build our own governments. We need to build our own mutual aid societies. We need to start becoming self-sufficient in preparation of revolution, because obviously our ruling class is too far gone. So when you say you don't believe in electoral politics, that's base as hell. I think we should be working towards revolution. I 100% agree with you, Carl. Let's continue this. This is a great conversation. Let me know how you're doing on time. I still want to ask you on China a little bit, but I kind of rewrote the entire show after I saw the Netanyahu Congress address. So once again, I appreciate you being flexible. So let's finish this clip. We already broke down the first ridiculous lie, how he said the Iraq war would lead to amazing results and the reason. So let's play through this whole clip, and then I'll let you chime in if you have any thoughts afterwards. And I will just move on for a second time.
If you take out Saddam,
all the way to the end,
Saddam's regime, I guarantee you that it will have enormous positive reverberations on the region. And I think that people sitting right next door in Iran, young people, and many others will say, the time of such regimes, of such despots, is gone. There is a new age. Something new is happening.
And that is speculation on your part, or you have some evidence to that effect?
I was asked the same question in 1986. I had written a book in which I had said that the way to deal with terrorist regimes, well, with terror, was to deal with the terrorist regimes. And the way to deal with the terrorist regimes, among other things, was to apply military force against them.
The way we did in Afghanistan.
The way, for example, I want to answer your question.
Well, I guess I'm running out of time, so I quickly was trying to get there. We've done, I think, what you proposed in Afghanistan, yet I haven't seen that sort of neighborhood effect.
Well, I think there's been an enormous effect. the effect was we were told that there would be a contrary effect. First of all, people said that there would be tens of thousands of people streaming into Afghanistan, zealots who would be outraged by America's action, and this would produce a counter reaction in the Arab world.
But I think
What
you're now
happened-
saying that when you take an action like we did in Afghanistan, we're going to see all the other countries just fold.
No, what we saw is something else. First of all, we saw is all the Arab countries and many Muslim countries trying to side with America, trying to be okay with America. The application of power is the most important thing in winning the war on terrorism. If I had to say, what are the three principles of winning the war on terror? It's like, what are the three principles of real estate? The three L's, location, location, location. The three principles of winning the war on terror are the three W's, winning, winning, and winning. The more victories you amass, the easier the next victory becomes. The first victory in Afghanistan makes the second victory in Iraq that much easier. The second victory in Iraq will make the third victory that much easier too, but it may change the nature of achieving that victory.
Bro, you're losing to Hamas and Ansar Allah right now. You guys see how the people in our ruling class fell upward, wrong about everything, still leaders and members of the ruling class. But Carl, I want to pass you. I want to get your thoughts. You have anything you want to chime on? There's literally so much bullshit here, man. I don't even know where to start. You want to chime in?
Everything they say is projection, man. You know, like they like to say the only language they understand is a language of force. Well, actually, I think that applies to themselves. I mean, right now, the fact is Israel is getting away. I mean, he's talking about how to deal with terrorist regimes. Israel is a terrorist regime. I mean, everything they say how to deal with terrorist regime, it should be applied to the state of Israel. Right now, Israel is able to get away with what it does is because United States is its biggest enabler, and because none of the politicians in U.S. think they have a future if they oppose Israel, and this is utterly fucked up. This is, like the whole project of Israel was originally they're supposed to be the client state of the United States, U.S. bridgehead, U.S. aircraft carrier in Middle East. But right now we are in a bizarre tail wags a dog situation. They are demanding all the resources of the empire to carry out their own project, their own settler colonial project, and lies after lies after lies. People. Yet Netanyahu continually to be elected the leader of Israel, and he's continually being feted across United States in the halls of power in U.S. Congress. I mean, this is why United States reputation is now U.S.'s reputation already drags through the dirt, but now with people seeing the ongoing genocide in Gaza and the U.S. full-throated support for monsters like Netanyahu, people, this is why the U.S. soft power just crashed all over the globe. I mean, but the people, that was perfect. The U.S. image deteriorates. I mean, like now in Southeast Asia, for the first time, survey shows that they ask if people have to choose between U.S. and China, and majority of the people surveyed in South Asia for the first time. Now they're saying they'd rather go with China, and especially in Muslim majority country like Malaysia and Indonesia. Yeah, because they see what happened in Gaza and they hated it.
Yeah, and I explained this before, man. And the world was brainwashed by American exceptionalism for a very long time. And they fell for American propaganda on the war on terror. They fell for American propaganda throughout the 90s. A lot of African countries signed security deals that didn't bid for them. And now, to be clear, that's also because of African sellout leaders. But you can make a legitimate argument that in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, that the United States had the global majority on the palm of their hands with their propaganda. That's completely flipped. The global majority is with BRICS. The global majority is rejecting the United States. And I know I'm an optimist, and that is That's flashed in my face so many times. I'm always a revolutionary optimist. I thought the Iraq War might have done it. I thought, look, there were so many things that could have did it, but I think they truly went too far this time. Like between Ukraine, the Russian sanctions, Gaza. I may be too optimistic. That's my biggest flaw, but I truly think they went too far this time, and they're fucked now. But go ahead, Carl. I know you want to chime in. This is a great conversation.
I mean, there was a time after 9/11, so all over the world, people are saying we're American now. Nobody will say that shit today. Nobody will say we're all Americans now. Are you kidding me? I mean, like, I think you are onto something. I mean, like, we always got to remain optimistic, right? I mean, even in the face of adversity, especially when you live in the imperial core, sometimes, the kind of the helplessness is instilled by the system. This is what they want you to feel. They want you to feel helpless so you don't do anything about it, so they can remain in power. So we always gotta remain optimistic about our own ability to bring about change. And this is how Obama hijacked that public sentiment to get himself elected to office, because remember, he promised change. Of course, he did none of that, but there is a real demand in America right now for change. So because people know things are not working. I mean, even the MAGA crowd, even the people that Trump is trying to appeal to, I think a lot of people on the right, they also know something is deeply fucked up, but they are being misled. They're being misguided to blame everything on like DEI, to blame on like LGBT, to blame on basically to blame on everything except but they also know even they themselves know the U.S. elite is hopelessly corrupt, right? So everybody knows this across the political spectrum. All the Americans know our elite is helplessly corrupt. But what our elite do is they're very good at playing divide and conquer, and they're very good at trying to instill a kind of the sense of pessimism, the helplessness in its population. So you will continue to be their pliant, submissive serfs. This is why we have to have optimism, man, Nick. So you're on the right path. We gotta be we have always got to be optimistic. And I think we are now in the very late stage of American imperial decline. I mean, the writing is already on the wall. The people are scrambling because they saw the multipolar world is emerging, and they are fighting tooth and nails trying to have the U.S. stay in its top dog position in the world. And this is how people like Netanyahu trying to appeal to those people who are trying to preserve U.S. hegemony. Like, we're fighting for you. Well, I'm fighting for you. And but they are on the wrong side of the history, and so we always got to remain optimistic. The light is at the end of the tunnel, folks.
Yeah, well said. Nihilism and pessimism is counter-revolutionary. The biggest pessimist, the biggest nihilist in our politics is the Bernie left. You guys see, and I got segment. I don't have time to do it today. I got segment already written out. I'm gonna show you guys how Bernie supporters are begging to join K-Hive. You have Jacob Ben, they wrote an article begging for us to join the K-Hive ticket. You have Cenk Uygur begging Bernie to be selected. And guys, you understand that they go through the Democratic Party and they take these crumbs because they're nihilists. They believe, there's not going to be a revolution. They are capitalist realists. Look at the theory of capitalist realism. They believe that. Go ahead, Carl. I'd love to hear from you. Go ahead.
I will give Bernie credit where it's due, because what Bernie Sanders did is he tried to moderate the U.S. capitalism. He tried to go the certain way, but his movement was so ruthlessly crushed that a lot of the people who were initially attracted to the Bernie movement, they saw what happened. They saw what the DNC did. They saw what the system did. They became so disillusioned They turn now they get radicalized, and many people were on that path of radicalization. So that's what this is Bernie Sanders' contribution. He's the kind of the gateway drug, for people to find the true progressive path of resistance, is because he tried to propose a very mild reform. I mean, if you look at what Bernie Sanders' platform, he's just trying to make the United States more like some of the European countries, with better social democracy. That it's very limited, very, very mild ask, but even that was not allowed. That was not allowed and countenanced by the establishment, and they have to be crushed. And so a lot of the people, but a lot of young people who were initially attracted by Bernie Sanders now have realized this is hopeless. That's a dead end. You got the system itself needs to change. So that is Bernie's contribution. That's a contribution of Bernie movement, is to radicalize a whole swath of Zoomers and even millennials, and to seek alternative paths.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that perspective as well. I think there was a lot of people in America that was already done like me, and then they needed an apparatus like Bernie, which is why I'm still salty. I'm salty because it could have been so much more. But you're right. You bring up a lot of good points. It was a great catalyst for people to launch into more revolutionary policy. You're looking at one, for example. But there's a lot of people in the Bernie movement. There are a lot of elements that were simply liberals, and there was careerists, Democrats, and we see a lot of people who betrayed us. But I agree a lot of what you said as well. Here's Zoya's love. Zoya's life. I always love her amazing chats as well. The establishment has convinced people they can't change the system, and a country that reinvented its own system of government after a revolution. Zoya's love, Zoya's life. So I can rant on that all day, but I'm gonna get back to the scheduled program. We only have 2 quick segments. Let me know how you're doing on time, Carl. I appreciate your time today. I'm gonna cover this. I'm gonna show you guys reactions, an unhinged reaction from the ADL from Benjamin Netanyahu's speech, because the reason why I say I think the dam is broken, I'm an optimist, because I think this went too far. I've looked at the reaction shortly before the stream. I'm kind of doing a live reaction to this now, but guys, it's not good, man. Like this event is backfiring badly. I explained before how Kamala's doing political theater. She's not showing up, but she's meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu, saying she still supports him. So that's political theater. But the fact that Kamala has to do that in the first place, what does that say? There are a lot of people who are seeing this for the disaster way it is, and I still got to go through a lot of reactions. We're going live right now, but there are a lot of people who realize this is a disaster. Nancy Pelosi being one of them. I'm gonna read Thomas Massey tweet here soon. Nancy Pelosi, friends. Now she is saying this because we know she don't have morals, but she realized how this is a fucking disaster. Benjamin Netanyahu's presentation in the House chamber today was by far the worst presentation of any foreign dignitary invited in honor with the privilege of addressing the Congress of the United States. And if you look at the replies, bro, people are like, huh? People are flipped out like, Nancy Pelosi tweeted this? Yeah, guys, bro, it's just bad. The initial reaction to this is so horrible that now Democrats are trying to distance themselves from this, because you're seeing this unbelievably traitorous behavior. That's why Nancy Pelosi is tweeting this out. Go ahead, Carl. Feel free to interrupt me. Go ahead.
If anybody have like the very sharp sense of which way the political wind is swaying, Nancy Pelosi, she's a long-term operator. She can see where it's going, and this is what they're trying to do, is given in this moment in time, because Biden just stepped down. Because there's no way Biden is going to win against Trump. So Biden has to go. And Nancy Pelosi was part of that Democratic establishment that forced Biden to go out. And what has going for Kamala Harris, their preferred candidate? Well, Kamala Harris, his best thing that got going for her is that she hasn't done anything during the last 3 years. I mean, so she could plausibly distance himself from Biden's platform, even though we know Harris' platform is really no different from Biden. But at least she hasn't associated herself in public with a lot of the Biden policies, especially with the ongoing genocide in Palestine. So they're still counting on, people are fed up with Biden, people calling him Genocide Joe. So
Yeah.
now they see that Trump supporter got energized by the failed Trump assassination. They are trying to count on the fact that now they are fielding a candidate that's neither Trump nor Biden. So people the never Trump crowd might still switch to vote for Harris. So this is what Nancy Pelosi is trying to do. She's doing damage control. She's doing damage control of the fallout of Biden presidency. So she needs to distance herself. Like, okay, so this is this is a new Democratic Party. We're moving a different direction, right? Go vote for Harris, vote for Kamala. This is what they're trying to do. But I don't know. I don't know if that alone will be enough. But we'll have to see.
Yeah, and remember, the Democrats. This is going so badly right now. They're blaming the MAGA Republicans, Mike Johnson. But do not forget, I covered this. Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries joined and signed the letter to invite Netanyahu, which is why I bring up to Nancy Pelosi here. And that's her hand chosen appointed. But I guess it's kind of naive for me to say Nancy Pelosi had picked them because AIPAC chose Hakeem Jeffries. But Nancy Pelosi has to be the public face of that, right? But let me finish her tweet. I didn't finish it. You're going to see the liberal Zionism of her coming out. Still, genocidal ideology doesn't change. Because she called Netanyahu, this is their way to cover for the overall genocidal regime of Israel, just depend on Netanyahu. But let's continue. Many of us who love Israel spent time today listening to Israeli citizens whose families have suffered the wake of October 7th Hamas terror and kidnappings. The families are asking for a ceasefire deal that will bring the hostages home. And we hope that Prime Minister will spend his time achieving that goal. So this is like the best call out you can get from Democrats. And this is her scrambling because you realize this has went horribly. Thomas Massey, who's winning, who AIPAC failed to get out of the race, which is why I think hypothesis. It's okay for me to have hypothesis. I don't give a fuck. I think Israel killed his wife because he's been so viciously against the state of Israel. This is a tweet I've been teasing for a while. I finally read it. Today, Congress will undertake political theater on behalf of the State Department. Exactly what it is. The purpose of having Netanyahu address Congress is to bolster his political standing in Israel and to quell international opposition to his war. I don't feel like being a prop, so I won't be attending. So good for him for calling that out. Now I'm gonna show you guys this. This is a segment where I'm gonna play just a little bit of it because I'm gonna show you. I wanted to cover some corporate media reaction to this. So I went to CNN and I saw this guy. And I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, Jesus Christ. So this is the ADL CEO, who is literally one of the most unhinged Zionists that you can find, but he pretends he's a liberal. He pretends that he's this is what liberal Zionists do all the time. They pretend they are sensitive, woke. He always bring up the Zionist connection with the civil rights movement, which is bullshit. He's the liberal wing of the Zionist space. The ADL is presented as a liberal organization. Like you hear right wingers say the ADL is like far left. The ADL, and I steal this from Luke unapologetically. I saw this comment on the side of my eye. ADL is a hate group. Thank you, Luke, because it is. So anyway, for the sake of time, let's play this clip. We're going to respond to a little bit of this clip, and then we're going to talk about China brokering peace, because the story that broke is they broke Palestinian unity deal. So that will be our last time. We will cover China. I'm sorry, I had to completely change the script today. But we will touch on China. We're going to talk about how China is a giant force for peace in the world. So that will be the next segment. We will wrap up after that, Carl. I appreciate you being generous with your time. So let's watch it. This is I made it 2 minutes in this as I did pre-show prep. 2 minutes, I was like, God damn, I can't do it, bro. So after the 2 minute mark, we going raw, we going live. This shit is right here is the most unhinged propaganda that we're gonna show in quite some time. This is the ADL's reaction to Benjamin Netanyahu's unhinged speech that even made Nancy Pelosi's skin crawl. Let's listen.
You came from this address. You were in the hall in the House chamber. What was your impression of the speech, knowing that he had multiple audiences there?
Yeah, it was pretty extraordinary, Deanna. I mean, to be there in the chamber, watching Prime Minister Netanyahu deliver those remarks, there were a few things that stood out for me. Number one, it was a unity message. Like literally, you had Democrats and Republicans standing up and applauding. You know,
What do you mean it was unity? You have massive protests outside of the event. Unity for who, sir? But I let continue.
I thought there was going to be lots of empty seats. There simply weren't. It was a pretty full house. And he complimented President Biden and praised him, as Jamie said, and he complimented President Trump for the Abraham Accords. So he was sort of finding a way to praise both sides. That's number one. Number two, he talked about anti-Semitism. He talked about what's happening on our college campuses and what's happening in the streets, and how that is not just about protesting policies of the government. You're seeing people going after Zionists and Jews. And literally, while he was speaking, outside the Capitol, you had people burning American flags in front of Union Station. I saw signs as I came over here to the studio, people saying things like, any resistance is justified. I mean, comparing that kind of language, when you think about,
you guys use hot metal rods to annually rape Palestinian men, use dogs to rape Palestinian women. There was a Israeli IDF female guard that was ordering the rape of Palestinian women. But you want people? They want to pretend that Hamas wages war uniquely evil. Do you have any initial impressions, Carl? Before I continue, because this is a lot to stomach.
They also said dogs on a mentally he's I think he has a Down syndrome. This Palestinian man, he has a mental vacuity of a child, and they set the dogs on him to tear him apart. I mean, these are this is just like we live in 1984. We live in 1984. I mean, everything is turned upside down. War is peace. They are. I don't know what they're trying. I know what they're trying to achieve. They're trying to bolster Netanyahu's standing back home in Israel. They're also trying to bolster Israel's standings. Like, look, U.S. got our back. But this is really, really bad optics when Netanyahu calling American protesters useful idiots for Iran. I mean, I just don't see how this is going to further their cause. I mean, those people in Congress. Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but Carl, the little bit of research I had to do before the show is that this Netanyahu address went horribly. You have CNN that's getting dismantled by her own their own comments. When I was just skimming through it, like, bro, even they are seeing through this. Is Dana a real journalist host? Oh my God, they're literally calling them out, man. But anyway, you can finish your thought, and we can continue the clip because it gets crazy. Anything you want to add before we continue?
Oh no. Let's keep going.
All right, let's continue because it's gonna get worse. I'll go back just a few seconds for context. Let's get into it.
I saw signs as I came over here to the studio, people saying things like, any resistance is justified. I mean, comparing that kind of language, when you think about the babies who were burned and the women who were raped. So
I'm sorry to interrupt it again, but those are lies. Like, you guys see, that's all the Zionists have. They are the biggest liars in modern human history. I say modern just to be conservative. So, you guys see how they get upset. Let's say someone did say death to Israel, glory to Hamas. They get upset at pro-Palestinian protesters for chanting shit. You guys are actually doing the murdering. Which one is worse? But Carl, go ahead. I know you want to chime in, and I promise I'll let you play more.
This so-called they're harping on this myth of sexual violence in October for many months now. Yet they couldn't find one single women witness to October 7th. And yet, so finally they found an anonymous man who claimed that he was raped by Hamas. Was this again a totally bizarre, a bogus story, and they're plastering it all over the media. And of course, they did that on purpose. They did that to coincide with Netanyahu's speech in Congress. This is all done in concert like, and they tell us we have free press, and when everything is so coordinated, and it's like if you are a close observer of U.S. politics, you start to see how these coordinated campaigns to feed public disinformation very strategically, like they time it at specific junctures. Let's just get on with these lies.
You guys can see why I struggle. I told you I made it 2 minutes in before I quit, and you guys see we 1 minute in. One thing I'm gonna say before we continue: if Hamas is as evil as they tell us, why do they have to lie about them? Fam, show me one time I've ever lied about the United States empire. Have I ever made up an atrocity? Do I have to lie about the resume of genocide Joe Biden? Tell me one lie I ever said about Israel. I don't have to lie about the United States and the West because they are so evil. There's a plentiful amount of evidence I can point to show how evil they are. What does it say about Hamas that the fact that their enemies constantly have to lie about them? Anyway, let's continue. Man, we run a long time. We only play a few minutes here, not too long.
Over here to the studio, people saying things like any resistance is justified. I mean, comparing that kind of language when you think about the babies who were burned and the women who were raped. So he talked about that. That was important. And then thirdly, I think he laid out a path forward. He talked about hostages and the needs to get them home. Then he talked about what a future could look like for Israel and a demilitarized Gaza, like a vision of peace. That to
just
me was
real
really
quick, I'm sorry, guys.
There are a
Just
lot of
real quick.
dozens
You
of
understand that this guy who pretends to be a liberal is so far to the right that he's outflanking Israel's own people? Like, Israel don't approve of how Netanyahu's handling this war. Israelis don't like Netanyahu, but here is the ADL is pretending that Netanyahu actually cares about the hostages. And this happens all the time in our Zionist media and in the Democratic Republican Party. They are actually more pro-Israel than many Israelis. Anyway, sorry, let's continue. Let's continue.
Democrats boycotted the speech, didn't show up. A lot of those seats where the Democrats would have been seated were congressional staffers just showing up and sitting there.
You know, there may have been some empties, but I watched Hakeem Jeffries stand and applaud. I watched Chuck Schumer stand and applaud. I watched almost every Democratic senator stand and applaud. So I hear what you're saying, but I got to say, I saw unity in that room. I saw him try to appeal to both sides, and I saw people from both parties respond.
What you do.
So what they're doing there, and this is when I rage quit. What they're doing here, they're bragging about how both parties are bought out by Israel. But I'll play one last clip.
At the ADL is try to stamp out hate.
Of course.
Anti-Semitism, hate against
Racism,
Islamophobia.
all of it, yeah.
That is not the job of the ADL. Look, you see what this propaganda do? I'm raging. But you guys see, she said, isn't the job of the ADL to stomp out hate? No, that is not their job. Their job is to be propagandists of Israel. This is CNN misleading their audience.
What you do at the ADL is try to stamp out hate.
Of course.
Anti-Semitism, hate against
Racism,
Islamophobia,
all of it,
Islamophobia, racism, all of it. How do you think that Netanyahu's attempt to do that in his speech is going to play? I mean, I was getting a text from one American Jew who said, okay, it's fine to call people useful idiots, but how about like a slight nod to people who are genuinely upset about the what's happening in Gaza?
Well,
and understanding that you're also saying the signs that you just described,
Totally.
which is just plain hate.
And he talked about the director of national intelligence acknowledging a few weeks ago that Iran is involved in these protests, something we've been seeing at ADL for a long time. But he did something very interesting, Deanna. Before the speech really got started, he called out some of the folks that he had brought over as part of his delegation, including, for example, a Bedouin soldier, which was interesting because I think most Americans don't realize there are Israeli Muslims in the IDF. And then he had an Ethiopian Israeli soldier who ran 8 miles on October the 7th. So I point this out because he demonstrated the diversity of Israeli society. I think you pointed this out earlier in a way that surprised a lot of people. He could have come with just decorated Jewish veterans. He didn't do that. He brought a more diverse delegation, and I think that sends a message.
So his job, and we can end it there. Go now. You go first, Carl. I've been talking like you go first.
I mean, they always trot out the Ethiopian Jewish soldier serving IDF as some inclusion and diversity Israeli society. Well, they're not going to tell you, they have a history of sterilizing the Ethiopian Jewish women because that they're afraid they're going to replace all the white Israeli settlers. How is Ethiopian Jews entitled to the land that Palestinian how are they indigenous to Israel? They're just showing their brain settlers from all over the world, from Africa, from Asia, from Europe, from America, all coming to Israel, and none of them are native. This goes counter to their whole point about this is our land. We always been there, and this is what they always do. They kind of obfuscate and then detract. The real issue is you are bombing women and children in Gaza. Majority of the population in Gaza are under 18 years old. So you are literally bombing children, and you are labeling everybody as Hamas. This is talking about hate speech. Anyway, he's a show. Let's keep going.
Yeah, we can. Let's finally get some time. I'm gonna read just a few super chats I see here, and then we're gonna move to the last topic. We're gonna talk about how China brokered Palestinian unity. China once again showing itself to be a positive force of peace. So that's what I'm gonna ask you about. I'm gonna just read a few super chats, and that'll be our last topic of the day. I'm looking forward to hearing your rant on that. Also, I didn't put that down. Thank you, $2 for $2, Marvin. Thanks, Nick. Great stream. Carl is a winner. Thanks. Another banger, my friends. Hopefully you guys enjoying. We had Mark Kimberly on yesterday as well. Make sure you guys check out that stream if you missed it. Thank you for the 199, Janice. Not elite hoarders, parasite, moochers. Thank you for the 199, Janice. Thank you for 299, Artie. Biden Pipestein. That's funny as hell, brother. That's funny as hell. Thank you for the super chat. That's the Democrat Party in a nutshell. Guys, apparently the rumor is Kamala Harris about pick Pete Buttigieg. I predicted that shit 5 years ago. 4 years ago? I predicted that shit a long time ago, bro. American elections are so predictable, bro. The only thing that was a curveball with Trump, to be honest, that was a curveball. But other than that, this shit is fucking predictable as hell. I think I read this about Read Again just in case I missed it. The last one I see here. Fetterman wearing a suit to impress his boss. Well said. Oh yeah, sorry, I missed this one as well. Thank you, Mark. I wonder whose horse will be appointed counsel first. Appreciate the super chat, Mark. Now I'm gonna ask you about this, Carl. We had Lee G. Jang on last week. It was great to talk to her. I'll try to talk to many people from China. I had great relationships with the educator from Bedbeat Media who live in Hong Kong. And as American, I only can talk to people who've been there, who traveled there. But from my interpretation, I am greatly impressed from what I've seen because of their central planning model, the way they hold billionaires accountable, the amount of people they lift out of poverty, the life expectancy rate skyrocketed. But on the geopolitical world stage, not only do you have the development of BRICS, you have China that broke in peace deals with Iran, Saudi Arabia. They had the Ukrainian peace proposal. Now you have this. Well, China is brokering Palestinian unity deals between Hamas and Fatah. I think, hopefully I pronounced that correctly. But this is just another example of China, how they operate. And look at the seething. Like, I see so many of these COPE headlines. Like, China brokers Palestinian unity declaration in bid to be global mediator. Well, China is the global mediator, and the United States is the world police. Which one is better? But that's my only thing I'm going to say on this story. I'll pass to you. I would love to hear your overall thoughts.
Okay, so there's actually a China angle in the U.S. grand strategy for Middle East. This is something that many people overlook. When Alan Greenspan published his memoir on Iraq War, he pointed out, he said, U.S. didn't go to Iraq to grab the oil. U.S. went to Iraq to dictate the flow of the oil, because starting from 2000, United States was becoming more self-sufficient in oil and gas because the drilling for shale gas in United States and shale oil, and whereas China was getting more dependent on oil export from the Middle East. So according to Alan Greenspan, I'm quoting his memoir, what United States wanted to do is they wanted to have the final say in the to dictate the flow of oil from Middle East, so allow them to gain a chokehold on newly emerging China. This was pretty early, 2003. They already have this grand strategy to contain the rise of China. Of course, despite they're trying to they're playing with risk board, their implementation, as we know, is disastrous. And then there's the Abraham Accords that was done by Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law, under the Trump administration, because the whole U.S. grand strategy in Middle East is to wedge the Sunni Arab world, headed by Saudi Arabia, from Iran, and then they're trying to reconcile the Sunni Arab world with Israel. So that's what Abraham Accords was about. It was about to get UAE to formalize ties with Israel. And then under Biden administration, when they saw China broker the peace deal between Saudi and Iran, and they thought, okay, we got to scramble. We got to scramble to counter China. We can't have China get that win. So what they try to do is they try to do an expansion of Abraham Accords to get Saudi Arabia to recognize Israel. And they were already on track. A lot of the diplomatic groundwork has been laid out. They're also trying to get Indonesia to recognize Israel. And so once this is all done, this is going to be the utter total marginalization of Palestine, or Palestinian issue, because if all these Arab countries and Muslim majority countries went ahead and recognized Israel, the Palestinian issue will become a back burner. And then October 7th happened. When Hamas launched October 7th, that kind of throw all the U.S. plans in Middle East into the trash bin. There's no way at this current juncture any Arab countries or any Muslim majority country will go against the grain, will go against their public opinion to recognize Israel now. So Jake Sullivan, the national security advisor of Biden, is still trying. They're still trying, but the way is why they want to do this is because they saw that countries in the region, Iran, Saudi Arabia, everyone, they're getting closer and closer to China, and that threatens the petrodollar, which is one of the major pillars of American empire. The U.S. Control of the world finance. That's one of the, I say there's three pillars of American empire: technology, military, and finance. And the other two are very wobbly right now. And the finance is one of the last big remaining standing legs of U.S. empire, and that's how they still are throwing sanctions around like crazy now. A sanction against Russia. They're now talking about sanctioning against China. So what they're trying, what they're preventing is they're preventing the petrodollar from becoming petro yuan, because Saudi Arabia already making a lot of noise about trading the oil in yuan. That will cause a tectonic shift in the world geopolitics, because back in the 70s, Kissinger went to Saudi Arabia, work out the petrodollar deal where Saudi Arabia will price the crude oil in dollars. So anyone who needs oil, they need US dollars, and they need to use the US dollar to purchase oil. So that gave value to the US dollar, because after Nixon took U.S. dollar off they first get rid of the gold standard, then they get rid of the Bretton Woods system, and now the value of U.S. dollar is based purely on the trust on the U.S. government, right? And they know, okay, that might not be enough, so they tie it with the dollar. In order to buy oil, you need U.S. dollars. Now, if the petrodollar goes, that goes to U.S. financial hegemony around the world. They cannot have that. So they're doing their best they can to wedge Saudi Arabia from China, the wedge Saudi Arabia from Iran, and they want to sabotage the Saudi-Iran deal by getting Saudi Arabia and Israel together, and try to heighten the tension between the Sunni Arab world and Iran. That was their goal. Now October 7th completely changed that landscape. And China has always supported the Palestinian issue back from the founding of the PRC. Yasser Arafat makes regular trip to China. In fact, when I think it was 1963, in the 1960s, when Mao received a Palestinian delegation, he said, "We Palestine and China, we sat on the opposite end of Eurasia, and you guys are the front door, we're the back door, and right now Israel is their bridgehead." The bridgehead of Western imperialism in the Arab world, and they're trying to do the same thing to us using Taiwan. So we are fighting the same fight, and Mao has always supported the Palestinian resistance with weapons, with trainings. After Mao died, China stopped providing military assistance because under the new policy, China stopped exporting revolution, but China continued recognition to China in the late 1980s. China recognized the Palestinian state, and there's a Palestinian embassy in Beijing. So China always had a working relationship with various factions as a Palestinian resistance. And now at this particular juncture, this is pretty huge. They're brokering a unity, a commitment to a Palestinian unity government between Hamas, Fatah, and the 14 other Palestinian faction in Beijing. Now, granted, this is some people are expressing skepticism about whether this government will hold, whether it's going to break down later. Granted, there have been many other past attempts to form a unity government in Palestine, but I think the one big difference in significance is that this time it took place in Beijing, and China is showing its full support behind the project of independent Palestinian state. And the one of the Beijing Declaration is their commitment to have a unified Palestine with its capital in Jerusalem. And this is again China, right, coming on the heel of Saudi-Iran deal. China has shown itself can be a honest broker of peace. This is totally opposite what United States is doing. U.S. is a destabilizing factor in the Middle East. It's by its full-throated support of Israel, and this is why I think this caught a lot of people by surprise. But China is now adopting a more assertive more active foreign policy. So for the period between Mao's death up to like Xi Jinping, there was a period where China just tried to concentrate on its internal development. It's trying to have good relationship with everybody, including United States and its Western vassal states. But now, given the current political environment, when U.S. is actively waging proxy war against Russia in Ukraine, and it's waging an economic war against China by slapping sanctions, there's no reason for China to hold back anymore. And I think that's a big tectonic shift. This is I'm really encouraged by what I see, and I like to see more of it. Ukraine, by the way, Ukrainian officials are right now also in China, and they just issue a statement that welcome China's role as a positive and constructive a peace mediator. This is right after Blinken and Jake Sullivan issue a statement accusing China of being an active partner of Russia, right? And then you have Ukrainian themselves going to China and saying, "Oh, we really appreciate what China has done." So this contrasts sharply with what U.S. is doing. U.S. is just trying to stir up shit everywhere, and I think that's something that the multipolar world is already here, folks. U.S. is hell bent on destroying all these international forums and the international institutions, including the UN, while China is now quietly building out the replacement. So this is what's happening.
Yeah, that was such a great analysis, Carl. Such a great analysis. We're gonna begin to wrap up soon, but I want to add what you just because I was gonna show this. I'm interested in hearing more of your thoughts because it's funny how and this is why I'm impressed by China. I just say that they're not my government. I can say I'm impressed by them because they got good foreign policy. They simply have good foreign policy. There are all these liberals, NAFO bots. These people be melting down at my content. They like, if you love Russia and China so much, why don't you live there? Why are you a Russia and China stooge? Well, sir and ma'am, I am looking at Africa and I don't see one Russian imperial flag. I don't see no Chinese imperial flags in Africa. I see Europe flags in there. I see what America does to Africa. Meanwhile, I see China and Russia be an ally to the Palestinians, be an ally to Africans. And now you have China, who is the leading voice for peace. And you brought this up. I'm glad you brought this up because this falls right in the face of NATO, where you have Ukraine that is openly praising China for their role. Before you have you had Jens Stoltenberg that said that China is fueling the biggest conflict in Europe since World War II. Once again, absolutely ridiculous. And since then, you heard more NATO officials repeat this. There's the new line. And that was completely shredded by this, what you mentioned earlier, where China had the Chinese peace proposal that was praised by some of the largest countries in the world. It was endorsed by Lula, Brazil. It was endorsed by Russia, endorsed by India as well. And now you have Ukraine. So two of the countries that was involved in the conflict endorsed the Chinese peace proposal. But the corporate media, and I gotta be quick here, but they said all these things, and the Chinese peace proposal is just appeasing Putin. That's what they said. And now I'm gonna read this tweet. I'll pass to you, and then we wrap up. I'll give you the last word. Ukraine highly appreciates China's positive and constructive role in promoting peace and maintaining international order. So, Carl, I'll give you last word. It was a great conversation, man. Last thought.
Nick, this is like that meme, the myth of consent, right? Ukraine and Russia says, yes, we consent to China to be the peace negotiator. We appreciate China's role. And United States is the one, you forgetting somebody else? You forgetting somebody else? Yeah. I mean, this is what's happening right now. It's a complete shit show. And just like the Netanyahu speech in Congress, U.S. is increasingly turning to the laughing stock of the world. Yet all these people in the Beltway bubble, they are starting to imbibe their own propaganda. They pump out so much disinformation and propaganda. The problem is our political class, our political elite are starting to believe their own propaganda, and they have a total warped view of the world. I mean, this is not the case in the global South. There's a survey that shows like 3/4 of the people in the Western country now have an increasing negative view of China. However, in the global South, 80% of the world population have increasingly positive view of China. This is what could account for this discrepancy? It's because our propaganda is very powerful, and our propaganda increasingly don't work on people outside the West anymore, but they still have a powerful hold in the people in the imperial core, right? This is where our job comes in. Our job is to educate people, is to tell them how really is, to peel away these onion layers of disinformation and propaganda, and to have them judge for themselves.
I can end on this question. I don't want to disrespect our super chat, so this will be last question, because they had a question directly for you. With all the conflicts going on globally, do you think that the tactic of the U.S. is to indirectly attack China by going after countries along the Belt and Road? In other words, a frontier mind. You have anything you want to add to that as we wrap up here?
This is what United States is trying to do. It's sporting the proxy war in Ukraine, which completely destabilized Europe. And it's getting all the EU, its vassals in EU to sanction Russia, which deprived Germany of the vital supplies of Russian gas. And so now all the German industrialists, now they're packing up their plan to move from Germany to United States, where they still have access to cheap natural gas. So what US is doing is they're lighting the fire all around the globe. They're destabilizing every corner of the world, so to make United States looks like the last safe bet for investment. I mean, this is what they're trying to do in Middle East as well. The whole effort of trying to sabotage China broker Iran Saudi deal is because they're afraid that now the Saudis will park their money, recycle their petrol money now into yuan, into purchase Chinese made product. The petrodollar worked before, because before 70s, before all this hollowing out of U.S. manufacturing, before they offsourced everything. Back then, the money that U.S. used to purchase Saudi oil then is recycled back to the U.S. by Saudi purchase of U.S. manufactured goods. But after all these Wall Street decided it's a good idea to offsource all the manufacturing to East Asia. Now for Saudis, if they do switch to trade oil in yuan, now that virtuous cycle now goes, the money goes from money to purchase oil come from China, then that money get recycled back into the Chinese economy, and that will threaten the whole the U.S. empire project. So they have to sabotage it. So the Saudi will keep on price of oil in dollars, so that U.S. don't produce anything anymore, but at least those dollars get parked in U.S. Treasury bills. They continually finance U.S. debt. And this is what U.S. is trying to do. It's trying to destabilize everyone else, so it makes United States seems the last land of oasis, land of calm. So you can the investment can continue to come from outside world to pour in U.S. Right? But they're not even trying to use that money to reindustrialize United States. Instead, what they're doing is military Keynesianism. I just saw an ad today, which is it's amazing, because they got most of it right. The ad is basically this young American woman who is trying to work his way through the gig economy by driving Uber and everything, and then she can't make the ends meet. And in the end, she went to this factory where they're still building things in the United States. And it turns out the factory is making submarines for the U.S. military. So, I mean, this ad has like so many layers. It's what U.S. government is trying to do right now. They're saying, okay, yeah, we realize this switch to a service economy is not working out for the young working class Americans, but we will offer you the best alternative, is to work for the military industrial complex. And that's how we're going to re-energize America. We're going to re-industrialize by building nuclear submarines. So this is a program, but I don't think it's working. Most of the people who are in the stream right now rightly realize that this program is not working, and sooner or later they have to come to grip with the reality that you have to. The chicken has come to roost. At home, the empire has come back to bite us in the ass. average Americans are increasingly getting left behind, and this is why there's so much discontent, both on the left and the right. Nobody thinks the country is going the right direction right now. So I'll just end it up with that.
It's always great to have you on, Carl. I always learn a lot from you, having you on. So I appreciate the conversation. Make sure you guys follow Carl Za on Twitter. Make sure you guys check out the Silk and Steel podcast as well. Once again, as someone, I'm going to visit China one day. I'm going to do a lot more international reporting as the years go on. My number one resource is people like you who been there, reported the truth. So it's a super important resource, especially for Americans, because we get hit with so much propaganda, man. It's hard to know what's true, and I've been obsessed with trying to figure out what the truth about our enemies. So make sure you guys check out Carl for more. Tomorrow, I'll pop you in the back. Thank you for joining us once again, Carl. I'm gonna show you guys. I think we have the RBN roundtable tomorrow. I'll take this. I don't want to be on camera no more. Tomorrow, the RBN roundtable is back again once a month. Every single member of RBN, Ron will be there, Savvy Savs will be there, JB will be there, I'll be there. That's tomorrow. The roundtable at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Looking forward to that. After that, I hope you guys don't mind if I take this weekend off, bro. I've been busy as hell. I had the meeting with Worker Strike Back, Shama Sawant, Jill Stein. I gave a speech with them. I was just on the Jimmy Dore show. What was it, Tuesday? I was just on their show as well. Had Mark Kimberly on. Venezuela analysis. I did stories on Venezuela. Johnny Miller was on. We did breaking news streams. So hopefully you guys don't mind me taking some time off after the roundtable. But I will be back on Tuesday with John Pang, who is also a journalist in China. So on RBN, you guys are getting high quality, intellectual, international reporting. So that's the new era for you. So we have another reporter from China joining on Tuesday. Banger after banger after banger after banger after banger. So thank you guys for watching. Have a good night.